Long black limo that picks me up instead. They sit me in the back row, middle seat, a faceless man on each side of me. I buckle my seatbelt and the men place a hand on each shoulder, just enough pressure to prevent movement, but loose enough not to elicit a fear response. I know not to look them in the eye and to keep my hands at my sides, my thumbs gracing my thighs and my pinkies against the pinstripes. I feel each hand on my shoulders tighten as I take a breath to speak. Where are we going? I didn't ask for a ride. My question is directed toward the driver, a pair of eyes framed by the rear view. I can see his eyes turn to me from the sliver in the window divide. You'll like where we're going. There are games, the kind you like, he says enthusiastically. What kind of games? I ask, as I notice a dark-haired girl riding a bicycle along the side of the limo. She looks like she's trying to see inside, but the windows are tinted. What kind of games do you like? He asks. He asks as the man to my left hands me an amber-colored concoction and a glass with ice. I take a sip. It is sweet and gingery. The ones I played when I was a kid, all of them. Manhunt, charades. I'm thinking of more of my favorites when the driver cuts me off. Let's play charades. Suddenly the car stops and my body is pulled from the seat. My seatbelt tightens against my chest. The man to my right grabs the drink just before I drop it. 3 ice cubes fall on his lap. He doesn't brush them away. The driver jumps out of the front seat and opens the back. He offers me a hand. Ladies first, the driver says, as he looks at both men beside me. I put my right leg out to steady myself as I take the driver's hand. I hit my back on the ceiling as I stand up. The driver's palm is calloused and it scratches my fingers as I hold it. I hear the men chuckling as I exit the limo, but I know better than to turn back. We are parked in a driveway surrounded by hydrangea bushes on both sides. I spot a clearing in the bushes where a path leads up to a house. The house is big and white with faded red shutters. I begin to pull away from the driver's hand as my head turns up and around to examine the house. He lets me slip my hand out and then grabs it quickly and brings it to his lips. He kisses it gently, then releases his grip. Now run off. Wait for me in the gazebo in the backyard. We will play that game we talked about. He doesn't wink or anything, just smiles and turns from me to address the men still seated in the back of the limo. He says something to the men, but I can't make out any words. For the first time, I am certain no eyes are on me. I walk around the far side of the house, past an enormous red door dressed with a Victorian door knocker. I'm starting to feel really tired, like I've been walking around for hours. I look up to see if the plane is anywhere in sight. I know they will come back for me. The rescue men will lower themselves onto this manicured lawn and take me up and away. I'm scanning the sky, turning in circles as I search. I start to feel dizzy. So I try to stop spinning, but I realize that I can't. I feel like I'm being poured into a spin art machine, and each color swirling in discs splashing into each other. All of a sudden, my limbs go limp, and I fall. I catch hydrangeas in my hands as I go down. My head hits something hard, and my lights go out. I have no idea how long I've been out when my eyes shoot open. I wake up crunching dirt between my teeth. I rub my head where it hurts and examine my hand for blood. Nothing comes off on my hand, but there's a pretty big bump. You snore in your sleep. I jump to the sound of a girl's voice behind me. I turn and see a brown-haired girl with a freckled nose staring back at me. Did you know that? She says. She must be about 11 or 12. Who the hell are you? I demand. This is my house? Maybe you shouldn't be so rude. She picks up a Barbie from her lap, grasping her by the ankles. She brings the doll inches from my face. Seriously, the doll says. I knock the doll away from my face. Her blonde hair mixes with the dirt. You still play with Barbies? Aren't you a little old for that? I ask, annoyed by the doll's intrusion of my personal space. Her eyebrows and mouth lower simultaneously, and she pushes the doll behind her. Everybody says that. What do you play with? She asks quietly. I don't play with anything. At a certain point in your life, you stop being a puppeteer, and you realize you have strings attached to you, and you know you have absolutely no control, no matter how much you fight it, I say, as I push dirt around with a small stick. That's how I got here. I don't understand, she says, but I know she does. She's just still fighting it. Don't tangle your strings. It'll just be harder later, I tell her. She looks at me heartbroken and defeated. Nobody likes me, she says, turning away from me. Now, why do you say that? I ask her, feeling slightly guilty for being so harsh. Because it's true. I'm the only person who lives in this house. I am completely alone here. You don't even like me. You never did. She's sobbing down the collar of her shirt now. Please don't cry. I don't hate you. I'm sorry. I'm such a jerk sometimes. I don't mean it. I look at everything all wrong and I hate it. I wish I wasn't so mean. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. You are too judgmental. Why do you just jab at me for no reason, she asks. I don't mean to. It's just this sadness I've acquired over the years. This incredible mass I battle with every day. It weighs on me. I snap sometimes. I don't mean it, really. I'm just so tired. I'm sorry, I tell her. I forgive you. But what is wrong with you? She looks at me with red and puffy eyes. It's this ticking in my head, this blur in my vision, a crack in my neck. I can't really explain it. It's worse in the winter. I try to explain my case. I know what I'm about to say sounds totally weird, but I think you need an exorcism. I've seen movies. It's real. All of it's real. I even asked my religion teacher. I really think you have a demon problem, she says, convinced. Maybe, I say. Will you stay here with me? She turns and asks as she wipes her eyes on the inside of her shirt. I wish I could, but I have a plane to catch. I'm sorry. Please excuse me, I say as I stand up. Branches reach out like fingernails to scratch my arms as I move across the bush. I can see the sun starting to set off the horizon. I brush my dress off and start walking in the direction of the backyard. My heart pounds with every step. There's a white parlor behind the house, and flowers surround a walkway, leading to a wooden gazebo near the back of the yard. I look around and I don't see anyone anywhere. Several lawn tools are scattered by an empty pile of dirt. I walk back to the gazebo and notice the driver is sleeping inside. He's snoring loudly, and a puddle of drool has formed below his mouth. I think of how easy it would be to kill him now. His defense is down, his eyes closed. You'd never see it coming. I just stand there and stare at him, waiting for something to happen. Suddenly, a snore gets caught in his throat and he coughs. His eyes open, and he turns his head to meet my glance. Well, there you are. I knew you wouldn't stray far, he says, as he rubs sleep out of his eyes and saliva off his mouth. Today is an anniversary of ours, if you recall. He sits up and adjusts the collar of his shirt. I got you something for the occasion. Something small, but it'll really change your life. What is it? I ask. It's probably better that I show you, he says, adjusting his belt as he stands. He waves his hands, ushering me to follow. It is growing darker by the minute, and I have no idea how to get home. I start to panic when I notice a metal fence of at least 8 feet surrounding the yard. I could have sworn the fence wasn't here a minute ago. That's so strange, I say, rubbing the bump on my head. The yard seems to become less and less familiar as I examine it. I must have hit my head harder than I thought. I notice rust along the legs of the white parlor chairs. I feel even more compelled to leave this strange place. Well, anyway, I have to go. I'd really love to stay, but I just have to go, I say casually, masking my fear the best I can. You say the darndest things. The driver grabs my hand and coats it with his calloused palm. Come inside. I want to show you something. He opens the back door and pulls me inside, hand first. The first thing I notice is the brown-haired girl sitting in the kitchen eating cereal. She glares at the driver, stands up, and exits the room, stomping her feet as she leaves. I'm still holding the driver's hand as we walk past the kitchen into the living room. The living room is filled with mirrors, full-length mirrors in each corner, framed mirrors on the walls, tiny mirrors sitting on stands on the side tables. Some are distorted like funhouse mirrors, while others have been cracked with age. The driver releases my hand and gestures for me to sit on the maroon couch, nestled on the left side of the mirrored room. I obey and sink into the cushions. Now you stay here. I'll be right back. I can't wait to see your faces. The driver folds his hands together excitedly and walks out of the room. I watch him leave through the full-length mirror facing the doorway. I sit still, my hands at my sides and my legs crossed at the ankles. A concave mirror mocks me from across the room. I pick up the handheld mirror from the coffee table and look into it. I have more wrinkles than I remember having. I look so tired. I'm studying the lines on my face when the driver walks back into the room. I put the mirror back on the table. Cover your eyes, he says, and I obey. He then strikes my head with a giant hammer. I am blinded by the pain for a moment. Then he hands me an ice pack. Surprise! I rub my head and notice the bump has vanished. The area no longer aches, and I feel a burden lifted. I feel free for the first time in years. The mirror to my left catches my lopsided smile. A few minutes pass, and I hear footsteps in the hall. I look at the mirrored version of the entrance and see the young girl walk in. She's holding a bucket of dirt with what looks like a tan-colored stem sticking out the top. I wanted to plant this for you in the yard, but they took out all the grass and put rocks there instead, she said as she hands me the bucket. I can now see that it is not the stem of a plant that is sprouting from the dirt. I recognize the plastic Barbie legs. You need this more than I do, she says to me. I take the Barbie out of the dirt by her legs, flip her right side up so her dirt-covered blonde hair soar like a flag, and then I stab her perfectly arched feet back into the dirt. Don't be a stranger, okay, she says. I can sense concern in her voice, but she smiles anyway. All of a sudden, the floor starts vibrating beneath my feet, and the mirrors start to shake out of their frames. I watch the mirrors pull out of their stands and off the walls. They gather in clusters in the center of the room, just floating in midair. I turn to the young girl, but she has vanished. I notice that the Barbie plant is about to topple over, so I grab it and bring it close to my chest. The mirrors begin attaching to each other rapidly, as if they were perfectly matched puzzle pieces. Within seconds, the door of a large aircraft is formed, and a reflective light shines on me like a spotlight.